achieving comes from action. He is known for conducting
any official messages. Don't blame me for everything on social media. I will not take responsibility for that.
Yeah. And,
Careful.
And now each and every message that you see from devotees was not from him. So what is that? He is known for conducting communication course. Right and what he is also known for conducting leadership course. So very accomplished devotee, gentleman married to another Prabhupada is the Rukmini Mataji, and father of the illustrious singer Gauravani Prabhu. So let us express our gratitude to him by loudly chanting 3 days Hariva.
Can you stay for 1 minute?
Yeah.
Face everybody. I'm going to stay in Farmington Hills until I learn how to put tilak on like that. He's expert in so many things, huh? Small things, big things. Hare Krishna. No, it's true. I want to embarrass him for too long. There's so many devotees here. They expressed to me how much they appreciate that. Because of Yugal Kishore Prabhu, they made their connection with Krishna. They feel connected to Krishna. They've developed their Krishna bhakti. So I was very grateful to you. So we can chant a little bit? Okay. Om Vishnu Baraya Krishna Barashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharnane Nirvasesha Srimati Prastitari Satane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Where's Kartos? Who has Kartos? Can somebody give us some water? Not a plastic bottle, just a glass from the safest. Does everybody know there's a island floating in the Pacific Ocean called something like the Great Trash Reef of plastic bottles and other plastic things in the Pacific Ocean the size of the state of Texas? So every time you buy a plastic bottle, use a plastic bottle, don't make sure they're recycling a plastic bottle. There's a lot of questions. Do they actually recycle everywhere? They say they do that. I don't know the answer. I don't think so. So just something to consider. If we love Krishna, we should love the earth because it's his devotee. If we love the earth, we should care for the earth. Hare Krishna devotees, Vaishnavas, we should be the leading environmentalists. Right? We should care. Sometimes there's a tendency to think, I love Krishna. Thank you. No. There's a tendency to think, I love Krishna. I don't have to worry about anything else. But if you love Krishna, you should care for, a little bit worry, mostly care for everything else, isn't it? It's like you say, if you love your children, you have to care about their education, you have to care about their health, you have to care about their food, you have to care about their roof over their head, you have to care about their mental health, their friends, everything. So if we love Krishna, we really have to care. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Say it. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Go. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Go. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. God. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Haribo. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey Govinda, hey Gopal, hey Radhe. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare. Last time, everybody chant. Grace said, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. All after Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. All after Lord Ram. Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. One more time, everybody together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Last time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Ramachandra ki, Shri Sri Rama Smaranamani ki, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki, Veer Bhagavan ki, ISKCON Farmington ki, Gaura Prabhu ki. Let me turn the lights on. On the light? Yeah. So you can see. Hare Krishna. So there's a place for the kids upstairs? You have some coloring books or something? Okay. So kids, if you want to stay here, it's going to be a talk. If you want to color, do other things, you can go upstairs. Any adults that aren't ready for the talk, you want to color, you can also go upstairs. There's no age discrimination in Christian consciousness. We know we're not these bodies. We're not young, we're not old. However, we like to be engaged. So, what time should I stop? What time should I stop?
Nine 9:30.
9:30. Okay, that's good. So today we know this is the day of Lord Ram's victory celebration over Ravan. So last night we were here, some of you were here last night. We talked about the different qualities of Lord Ram in glorification of the Supreme Lord and his kindness that he's come here into this world, appreciation of him and his wonderful pastimes. And then we also talked about what can we learn from them? How can we follow in the Lord's footsteps? Just like Guru, we refer to Prabhupada as our founder Acharya. He founded ISKCON, but he also sets the standard by his behavior, how we should act. He sets exemplary acts. So in the same way, even more so, when Krishna comes, when Lord Ram comes, when Lord Chaitanya comes, they teach us by their example how we should live our lives. And then this morning, we read from the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 9th canto. Sukadev Goswami says to Parikshit Maharaj, he says, you've heard the pastimes of Ram and Sita so many times. I'm not going to take a lot of space, but I'll tell the whole story in basically one chapter, maybe two. But so we read that as rather condensed. And then we talked about, in one of his purports, Prabhupada talks about how, particularly in this age, Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, same person coming at different times. He's come as Lord Chaitanya, just like you have this beautiful painting on the back. Everybody can take a look, right? Sadbhuj, right? This is Krishna. You see Krishna's there playing the flute, but he's manifesting his other two arms as Ram carrying the bow, and also as Lord Chaitanya. So Krishna comes. Oh, maybe somebody can go upstairs and close the window. That'd be good. Otherwise, the kids go to the playground, but we all go with them. Can you close that window? I think I heard no, right? It's slowly, slowly closing. There goes, a bigger person is working on it now. Slowly, slowly, 1 inch at a time. Now an even bigger person is up there. Okay, I think they have to turn the crank or something, huh? Okay, yeah. Okay, good. So tonight I thought would be, because we should look at Krishna's unlimited ways of understanding his pastimes and who he is and what's our relationship. So that tonight we'd read a little bit from the Bhagavad Gita. Two very, 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 very important verses, and then part of one purport. And then talk about that in terms of Lord Ramachandra's his appearance, why he comes, when he comes, where he comes, all those questions. Turn to what? Oh, okay. Okay, so this is text 4:6 and 4:7. You can just listen out. Well, some of you know this 4:6. You can chant along with me. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim svamadistaya sambhavami atmamayaya. I didn't hear anybody. You try it again. You know this verse. Yeah, 4:6. No, okay. So I'll say, you say. Ajopi san avyayatma. Now I have a Michigan accent, so there's no excuses. You don't understand what I'm saying. In Washington, they can say, we don't understand what you're saying, but this is Michigan, okay? You have to understand, okay? Ajopi san avyayatma. Bhutanam Mishwaropi san. Prakritim Svamadistaya. Sambhavami Atmamayaya. So Krishna says to Arjuna, although I am unborn, and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So Krishna comes, Ram comes, Chaitanya comes, Krishna comes, many different transcendental forms. Next verse. Yada yada hi dharmasya. Lani bhavati bharata. Abhutanam dharmasya. Tadatmanam srijamyaham. Translation, whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice. So now Krishna said that he comes. 4:6 explains that he comes in his original transcendental form. Although he's unborn, and although he's the Lord, he still appears. And in this verse, he says why he appears. First one, he says he appears. Now he says why he appears. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice, O descendant of art, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So I say, you say. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of art, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki. I'll read most of the purport, not all of it. The word Srijami is significant herein. Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation, because according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Srijami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dvapara Yuga, of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma, he has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations, because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. I'll skip a little bit just for time. The Vedic principles push one toward complete surrender unto him. And whenever such principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavatam, we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna, who appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are many restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes in the Vedas, people of demoniac tendencies still took to animal sacrifice without reference to Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of nonviolence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. This is a very important section. Read those last two lines again. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. Any teachers here? Any of you teachers? One. Raise your hand high. Two of you. What grade do you teach? You have a specific grade you teach? A little louder. Early childhood. What grades? Or ages? Preschool, like they're 4 years old? 4 and 5 years old. And you? Oh, in the Sunday school. Okay, that's also teaching. Okay. So sometimes I know teachers, they teach second grade. Then next year they say, we have to move, you have to teach sixth grade. Right? Or sometimes they teach eighth grade and they say, now you have to teach sixth grade. So now if you're a teacher like that, only 2 teachers, but the rest of us, we understand. If you go to the sixth grade class, can you teach the same way you would have taught the eighth graders? No, you have to change it. You may like eighth grade, that doesn't matter. Now you're in sixth grade teacher. So you have a responsibility to teach according to their capacity. So that's what's being explained here, the same principle. The mission, so I'll read that last sentence. He speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same. Very important point for Vaishnavas. The mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant, or himself in some disguised form. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 + 2 = 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Om Ganatami Andasha Janan Anjana Shalakaya Chakshu Om Manitamina Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitamina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapanandikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Girara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. That child is ready to lead kirtan. They're very enthusiastic. So, in these verses, so Krishna is explaining Although he is transcendental, his form never changes, not like ours does, according to the time factor. That he comes, he's unborn, but he comes again and again and again. And he explains he comes to reestablish principles of religion, to annihilate or to minimize the influence of the miscreants, the demoniac elements, and to reestablish the principles of religion. So this is why it comes. So today we're celebrating that Lord Ramachandra came, and he came to annihilate Ravan and reestablish religious principles, and the pious people who put Vibhishan on the throne, like that. And then he demonstrated so many wonderful qualities, like we described last night. He was very obedient to his father. He was very loyal to his wife. He was very, very steady and determined and brave, all of that. So elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he's the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhu bhaktasarvam pravartate. I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. So even though he's the source of everything, he comes into this world. And this very important part of our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Sometimes people, let's say in India, they celebrate so many holy days, so many appearance days. It's a big celebration, sometimes not so much philosophical understanding behind it. Sometimes. But we're understanding, as Krishna is stating here, he comes because he's involved. He comes because he's Jai, Shishi Sita Lakshmana Hanuman Ki Jai. So the Abhishek is done. We're just having special darshan. Yeah. Okay, nice. And these are smaller days. We did Abhishek today for them. Yes. And you walked from your house carrying them the whole way, and you just came. Okay. Twice. They got Abhishek twice today. Wow, Krishna. Okay. That's special. Most temples, they only get Abhishek once. Very special. A lot of devotion here. They get Abhishek twice. So Krishna is explaining he comes, he's very involved in the world. So in America, and around the world, there's different ideas. Some of you may know, like some of the early founding fathers of this country, they subscribed to a type of philosophy that were called deists. Anybody know what deist means, or deism? It's the idea that God created the world like a clock. He winds it up and then he goes away. It's not so popular these days. Maybe there's a new name for it. But like Thomas Jefferson was a deist. He believed in God, but he didn't believe God was involved. And of course, there's so many atheists who say there's no God. And these days, you know what the biggest growing, I don't know if you can say religion, the largest self-identified group of spiritual people in the world, you know, in the country, you know what it is? We know? Nuns. Not N-U-N. N-O-N-E. None. It's true. It's true. And many, many people identify as spiritual but not religious. And that's a whole other discussion. A lot of times it's because, you know, they feel they've been so misled or mistreated by religious institutions or organizations that they reject religion, but they still feel themselves spiritual. There's an old joke around ISKCON sometimes. I've heard people say that when people first started saying they don't like organized religion, hopefully today we're getting better. But oftentimes I heard devotees say, if you don't like organized religion, you'll love ISKCON. We have no problem with organization, very little organization. So we're getting more organization, but sometimes they say like that. So some people say there is no God. Some people advocate that God has set everything in motion. Some people, different ideas. But so Krishna's explaining here and understanding about Lord Ram's appearance that he's very, very much involved in this world. So he came out of concern to reestablish religious principles, to protect the pious, and annihilate the miscreants like Ravan. There's also many, many people today who say they're not really sure, but if they look around, you can see the world is so complex. There must be some design, isn't it? And Prabhupada sometimes gives the example. He says, like a small child, maybe they see a car driving down the street, or maybe previously, some kind of cart, and they may think it's all happening automatically. But an intelligent person understands, no, actually behind the scenes, so much goes into it. Just I give the example, we turn the lights off, turn the lights down. So, a child may think, or someone without thinking, well, I just turn on the switch and the lights are there. But a more analytical person thinks, well, I turn the switch, which makes the connection to the electrical circuit, electrical box, which makes a connection to the power cable, which makes a connection to the electrical station, which was designed by the engineer, financed by the city, right? Which you all pay taxes for, right? And all of that. And they understand very complicated system. It didn't just happen spontaneously. So in a similar way, we can see, even ourselves, if you think about it, just like if you go to, I go to pick up this cup of water. Okay, I picked up the cup of water. Did I consciously think, okay, move this arm, move this nerve, move this? And it just kind of happens in a very mystical way. And sometimes if there's some like accident or something, you lose control over that and you can't will it back. It's beyond our capacity to will it back. So thoughtful people, they understand there's very, very, very complex systems. There's a lady devotee in New Vrindavan, and she's a physics and mathematics professor. So I remember asking her a few years ago, so how is it you can believe in God? Because so many people, they say, it's nice you all come here on a Saturday night. It's very good for you, and we're glad you're peaceful, and glad it makes you happy. And, some people play with dolls. Some people go to temple. It's nice for simple-minded people. They might think like that. So I was asking her, how's it you're such a highly educated woman? You're a professor of mathematics and physics. And the simple answer she gave is the more studies they do, the more they realize it's too complicated. It's too complicated now to have some kind of design behind it. And I remember like studying, I didn't study much science in school, but I can remember the textbooks would always talk, and they would say, 500 years ago, we believed this. Or 2,000 years ago, we believed this. But then 500 years ago, we realized we didn't know anything for those 1,500 years, and we found this. And they were completely wrong, right? And then 250 years ago, we discovered something else. We realized they were wrong. And then 100 years ago, we discovered this and found out they were wrong. And 50 years ago, we discovered this and found out they were wrong. And then today, we really don't know why this happens. Every single chapter ended like with questions. And you talk to anyone, you talk to like an engineer, and they'll tell you, well, there's certain things we don't really understand. We can't go beyond that point. There's some law we haven't discovered yet. We don't know what it is, why it is, why planes can't go faster, why they, et cetera. So we realize the limitation of our knowledge, but we know it's complex. So I can remember going out years ago, still go occasionally, but like I used to do full-time distributing Prabhupada's books. And I remember one time I met a very nice young man, maybe in his 20s, 30s. He was a very friendly person, and we were chatting. And then I showed him the Bhagavad Gita. I said, we're showing these books to everyone. He said, I don't want to see that book. He'd turn in a minute. I don't want to read that book. And he wasn't Christian or Jewish or something else. It wasn't that you could tell he knew that book was going to tell him there's deeper questions in life that you should be asking. And he didn't want to ask those questions. It was like, thank you very much, Krishna. I'm quite happy in my materialistic pursuits. Please don't bother me. You see? And then I had other experiences. I can remember one time I spoke with a person who was a truck driver, because sometimes truck drivers, at least they used to, they'd fly them to certain places. And I remember talking to one man, I was explaining to him Bhagavad Gita. He was very receptive. And then I was somehow asking him, and he was flying home. While he was out driving, he got a message or something from his wife saying, I'm leaving, I'm taking the kids. So he's out driving a truck trying to make money. I don't know, maybe he was a terrible husband. I don't know. I don't know those details, but he's out driving his truck. And then his wife's gone. And then his kids are gone. Nobody wants their wife to leave. Nobody wants their kids to leave or their husband to leave. They want to have, solid, respectful relationships. But these things happen in this world. And thoughtful people are meant to ask why, and who's behind it? The good, the bad, and the ugly, isn't it? How is it that I can lift up this paper cup? And how is it today, in hospitals across Detroit, there's top doctors trying to help people who can no longer pick up a cup? Why is that? What is the nature of this place? So therefore, some people, they kind of theorize. I might have mentioned this the other night. There was one famous rabbi 10 years ago, 15 years ago, wrote a book called Why Good Things Happen to Bad People. No, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. I got it backwards. Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. And his analysis was, he said, we hear that God is all loving, or all good, and God is all powerful. So if he's all powerful, why is there so much trouble in the world? He analyzed like that. So he said, for me, I've come to the conclusion, God is all good. I want God to be all good. So many things in his religious tradition said God is all good. But he can't be the controller. He can't be all controlling. Because otherwise, why would he make it like this? Why would he make it so difficult? So different ideas are there. So the Gaudiya tradition, we believe Krishna, who comes in his deity form in order for us to serve him, he's both all-powerful and all good. So we might think, well, how is that possible? So it's explained in Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere that this whole world is actually created for us. Somebody says, why is the world the way it is? Because we wanted it. We wanted it. 8,400,000 different species are described. Different types of bodies. You see, like the other day, I was in Indianapolis and I was on some Zoom call and some bird kept flying up and I was going to turn the computer on and say, look, there's a pretty bird here. But that bird can fly. I can't fly. If I try, I'm going to hurt myself. I could have stood on the roof and said, let me try. But that wouldn't have worked. So if you want to fly, it's kind of an interesting experience. Krishna gave you that kind of body. I mean, tragically, just what was it, 3-4 months ago, that one very, very wealthy family, the father, big entrepreneur, businessman, billionaire, takes his son inside a little submarine to the bottom of the ocean, crushed. Because he didn't have the right body. But there's bodies that can live down there. You want to go down there? Great, you get that kind of body. You want to fly? You can get that kind of body. You want to eat meat? You can get that. So the scripture says you get that kind of body. If any of you have read the little cookbook, Higher Taste, it kind of talks in there about how our body is designed. Meat-eating animals have longer tract from their stomachs to where you eject the waste. Actually, excuse me, they have shorter because the meat rots in your system. So like a tiger, I think their the length of their intestinal tract is 3 times the body length. Ours is, I can't remember, 9 or 10 or something like that. Because we're designed to digest vegetarian foods. Vegetarian animals have a long tract like that. So this world is designed, all these different planets even is described to give us the opportunity. And Krishna says that whatever our desire, he fulfills that desire. He gives us different opportunities to do so. And at the same time, he doesn't just abandon us here, like the deists say. He set it in motion and he went away. Or he'd like us to be okay, but he doesn't have complete power. I wish you well, good luck. Like when you graduate from the university, right? You've been here for 4 years, you gave us $100,000. And now we give you this piece of paper and we wish you well. Right? Isn't it? Don't call us, but we will call you. Because now you're an alumni. Right? I remember going to my daughter-in-law's graduation a few years ago at the University of Maryland. And they didn't even finish the graduation service. But, the person in charge, the dean in charge of whatever, fundraising, he stood up. He was one of the last ones to speak. Thank you very much. Congratulations. You will be hearing from us Now you're a graduate. We depend upon. I thought, come on, give them at least 5 minutes apiece. At least give them a week, and then follow them up. But no, right there in the graduate, right in the stadium, they had to ask for something like that. So Krishna creates this whole place, but he's very, very much involved. And why is he involved? Why is he involved? That's a very important question. Just like they talk about sometimes parents, right? I think they use the term hovering, right? No kid wants a parent that hovers, right? How you doing? I'm okay, Mom. Hour later, you doing okay? Mom, I'm okay. Hour later, Mom, I'm okay. Give me some space, right? So Krishna's not a hovering God. He doesn't force his presence on us, according to the scripture. This is described beautiful in the Upanishads. It explains that we are like, the whole material world is like a fruit tree. And we're here in this world, in this material body, trying to enjoy the different fruits of that tree. Some are very sweet, some are very bitter, isn't it? We all have that experience. You get a nice job, everything's good, then you get a pink slip, right? You get a nice job, everything's good, then they transfer you to another division with a boss who's not so good, right? Or there were so many examples of that, up and down. So we're enjoying the fruits of this tree. But along with the individual birds, described the super soul is there. Krishna is there in our heart, and he's watching, and he's waiting for us to turn towards him. This is the core message of the Vaishnava tradition. Krishna, Bhaktanam Jakadapasam Sarvalokam Maheswaram Suridam Savabhutanam Gyatvam Shanti Mrichati. He explains that I'm the supreme friend of every living entity. So I won't ask you to raise your hands, but if I was to say any of you ever had a very hard time in life, probably most of our hands would go up. And then if I was to ask you, do you have a friend you could lean on? Hopefully most of you, your hands would go up. And if your hand went up, there's probably a pretty good chance it was easier for you to get through that than those of us that maybe don't feel we have, You lose your job, you have somebody you can call. They can empathize and they can encourage you, Don't worry, it's just a little bump in the road, you'll be okay. If you don't have anybody to take shelter like that, it's very difficult. Or even sometimes worse, the nature of this world. The very people we think we can depend upon, they turn against us. That's very painful. That's extremely painful. But Krishna explains, actually, he doesn't turn against us. He's always our well-wisher. Prabhu would sign his letters as Krishna's representative, your ever well-wisher. So in this world, there's a lot of cynicism, and there's a lot of sarcasm, and there's a lot of, we had a seminar today, attended online, talking about trust and trustworthiness. A lot of us, it's very hard to trust anyone because we've been cheated too many times. Whatever it is, you buy some product. I remember as a kid watching ads on TV, there was a certain kind of soap, and they kept saying, this soap doesn't leave any film. And they would show, I don't think they do this, they'd stick glasses in and pull them up. My personal experience, that soap had the worst film of any soap I ever tried. I remember this as like a 12-year-old thinking, this is like false advertising. But they tell you that it doesn't have a film, so when you see the film, no, there's no film, I heard on TV, right? Just like you see ads for products, they say, as seen on television. Well, just the fact it was on television doesn't mean anything, it just means they had enough money to buy an ad for it, isn't it? So in this world, so many times we experience different things that let us down. We have a relationship sometimes that let us down. We have jobs that let us down. Sometimes friends that let us down. Our own bodies, sometimes they let us down. Maybe political systems or politicians let us down. Maybe we're invested in a certain type of product. I was speaking with some devotees that were working, maybe a lot of you work in like software development. They'll tell me some of these, like there'll be a big company and they're working on some project. They'll invest thousands of hours, sometimes millions of dollars. Before they launch the product, they change the senior vice president. I see some heads nodding here. True, yeah? A new vice president comes in, whatever you worked on for the last 12, 14, 16 months, throw it out the window. All the money's gone, start over again. And then the new guy says, I want the team to be enthusiastic about this project. And you going, yeah, right. That's what the last guy said, isn't it? And you're supposed to be enthusiastic about it. How are you supposed to be enthusiastic about that? Very hard. But sometimes, then people, when you can't be enthusiastic enough, then people spend money. They go to some, there's some good things there, but suddenly you go to some self-help guru that just tells you, be fired up. You don't smile enough. That's your problem. You don't smile enough. Or you got to try harder. Feel like I tried harder with that vice president, with the former vice president. Can we launch one of these projects that I've worked on? Just one? Can we please launch one? Is this my fate in life to keep doing things forever? Yeah, no, I mean, this is like, I won't mention, there's other examples that are more equally true and more painful. So we're understanding, Krishna's making this very bold claim. He's saying that I'm actually your best friend. That's a bold claim. It's like, who are you to tell me you're my best friend? Isn't it? We might think, wait, So we can come and we can do puja and we can chant, we can read, we go to church, temple, mosque. But when Krishna says, Sarva Dharmam Prityagyam Mamikam Shananam Raja, surrender to me, like, whoa, that's a whole other thing. I can go to the temple, I can give a few dollars, I need prasadam and haribol. But surrender? Can I trust you? Why should I trust you? How can I trust you? Who are you to trust? So many people have misled me. So many people have cheated me. So many people have taken advantage. Not that everybody does, of course. Even you may love someone very much. In this world, we all know that people are taken from us, right? You give your heart to someone, even whether it's a parent or friend, they're taken from this world. Very difficult place. And you meet so many people there, they become hard-hearted. It's because it's too tough, and they become cynical and they don't trust anything. So Krishna is saying, no, you trust me. Why? He says, because I'm your best friend. And he explains that actually, if you understand this, there's nothing more important to know in the whole world. Someone comes up and says, what's the most important thing to know? Like I was talking to Prabhu here, right? He works on product launch for General Motors. So he knows many, many secrets that he didn't tell me. About what's coming out this year, what's coming out next year, he knows all those things, right? So there's some secrets. Different people have different secrets, but Krishna is explaining the supreme secret, right? In the 15th chapter, he summarizes. He says, whoever knows me as the supreme personality of God and without doubting is the knower of everything. He or she therefore engages in full devotional service, O son of Bharat. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So Krishna is saying this is the topmost knowledge to understand. I'm the source of everything. And when you know this, you can surrender to me. Your everything you do attains perfection. So that's a strong claim, and we balance it in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhu is so kind. He says in the introduction, he says, at least theoretically, read this book at least theoretically. Any scientists here? Qualify yourself as scientists? Mostly applied sciences, right? Not so much research science. Okay. But we're all familiar with theory, right? Scientifically. Somebody gives a theory, you test it in the laboratory, you either prove it or disprove it, or that makes some modifications. So Krishna is basically saying, in this laboratory of life, at least theoretically consider, Prabhupada is explaining, at least theoretically consider Krishna's words. And therefore, Lord Ramchandra comes, and therefore Krishna comes, and therefore Lord Chaitanya comes to reinforce that message, and their representatives come to teach as much about spiritual principles as people can understand according to the time and place. So the ultimate message, we believe, our scripture teaches, Krishna says, is that we are eternal spiritual beings Somehow we're lost in this material world, life after life, birth after birth, up and down, higher planets, lower planets, rich, poor, famous, infamous, beautiful, challenged, happy, distressed, human forms, even animal forms, lower forms, all to seek out, looking for some shelter, some happiness in this material world. But it's also, when they come, they with the same message, and it's there in other religious traditions. The first principle, this is not your real home, isn't it? Just like, again, Prabhu gives the example, we all have human form of body. If they throw us in the water, if you go in the water, right, it's getting too cold now. If you go to some swimming pool or something in the summer, I know myself, I go swimming for 5 minutes, I'm out. It's like, okay, what's next, right? Maybe 10. My grandchildren, 5 hours, and then we don't want to go home, And I don't want to offend my grandchildren, but you have to wonder, so you were fishing your last life? What's the story? But for them, it's like they're more, but either way, 5 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours, 20 or 20, you can't stay there that long because we're not designed for that. So Krishna is ultimately saying, we're actually not designed for this place. Our body is kind of works here temporarily, but the soul is not designed for this place. And therefore, it explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam that if we're a little self-reflective, there's always some pinprick. An example is a pinprick in this life. You can get so many things, but it's not quite right. It's not quite, just like example, this one's fine. But sometimes when you come and you visit a Hare Krishna temple, maybe other places too, they give you a garland. But sometimes, they've been offered to the deities and they use a pin to hold it up for the deities, right? And they don't always take the pins out. So sometimes they give you a garland and you're sitting trying to give class. Ooh. Sometimes even they give you garlands and there's little bugs like crawling, ants, usually it's ants and carnations, right? But particularly with the pin, it looks nice, it's a garland, but there's something wrong, there's a pinprick. So we all see that. You get a nice car, as soon as you get the car, you're going to drive it out the lot, your new whatever, Model X whatever, and as you're getting ready to go to show off your friends, you're at the stoplight, and somebody pulls up next to you, the Model XY. It's got the better stereo, it's got the better tires, it's got the better, right? It's got like the automatic, you've got a hand-operated sunroof, and you're like, oh, geez, I should have got that. Isn't it? Anybody ever experienced that? I think I mentioned the other day, and maybe in Indianapolis, last Christmas Eve, I was in Brooklyn. It was on a Sunday, and I was giving a class. I did a little research. The numbers are phenomenal. Something like 65% of the things people buy as gifts for Christmas are thrown away by the summer. Now, people spend a lot of money in those things. They work hard on those things. They go into debt for those things. Isn't it like every year they say, this is the big present for kids this year because of marketing, they convinced everyone. So you got to buy the new thing and the kids, they break it. I read some other article by some child psychologists and they were saying, actually, parents shouldn't be disturbed, but oftentimes it happens, especially with younger kids. You give them some fancy new expensive toy, they're playing with the box. Right? Anybody ever had that experience? You get some very expensive toy and they're like, I don't want the toy, but like this tissue paper is fun. Or I can pop, right? Those things, right? You can pop, 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 pop. Forget the toy, just pop, pop, pop. And you're the parent, you think, wait a minute, that cost me $200 and you don't even want it? What's going on? So it's described this world as like that. Our mind tells us we need this, we chase it, we pursue it, we work hard. But Krishna's saying, I come again and again and again to remind you those things will make you happy. I can make you happy. Those people, they can be your friends for a short time, but I'm your eternal friend. You can make a nice place to live here, but I have an eternal abode that never breaks down, never gets old. You don't have to make mortgage payments and they don't charge you property tax, right? All those different things. So this is the message. The Lord comes to give us the opportunity to rebuild our relationship with him. And Lord Chaitanya, who particularly came 500 years ago is described. Krishna came and said, surrender to me, and then I'll take care of you. But Prabhupada explains many, many times, and Lord Chaitanya and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya came because he said, these people, they're not even ready to surrender. So you don't even have to surrender, just chant his name. He makes it easier and easier and easier. I had an experience a few years ago in Washington, D.C. Temple. I got a phone call. I had a friend who was a professor at Georgetown University. He said, can you do us a favor? I said, sure. He said, we have some basketball players who are really important to our team. The Georgetown University, they're not so good now, but for years they were a very good basketball team. He said, we have some basketball players. They're not quite qualified. Their grade points are too low. If they get any lower, they can't play basketball, which would be a big disaster for the whole school. So can they please come to your temple and you show them around, give them a lecture, we'll give them some extra credit. So we're like, sure, we can do that. So these guys came, they kind of got out of their van. They were looking around like, we don't know why we're here. We have no interest in this place. You know, the prasadam was okay. They weren't really into it. But behind the scenes, the college, the coach, the professor, and they had some woman who like was, you know, drove them out there. Like her job is to make sure these students don't fail or something. A lot of work went into. They don't even know. They don't even care. They were working so hard to try to help them. So that's like Lord Chaitanya. He comes, even we don't want him. He comes. Prabhupada. Did anybody raise your hand if you invited Prabhupada to come here? Anybody invite Prabhupada? Send him a letter in 1966. Dear Swamiji, please come. You know, nobody invited him to come. But he came because he knew it was good for us. Lord Chaitanya came as his representative as Guru Maharaj. So this is the kindness for the Vaishnavas. And all we have to do is just try to say, okay, even in Bhagavad Gita, I don't have to accept you, but maybe in theory. Okay, I'm told this is spiritual food. Looks like regular food to me. My mother made choli, my grandmother made choli. What's the difference? You know, you say it's offered to God. Okay, I'll try it. Why not? Then you try it. This is different. Right? So at least theoretically, we should accept it. Maybe Krishna is my best friend. Maybe I can go back to him. I can in his name. Maybe I can become happy. Maybe I can learn to be undisturbed by the happiness and distress of this world. Maybe it's just possible. And maybe this process of chanting his name is as powerful as they say it is. So we just have to try it, right? We have to try it and then go a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper. So that's the message of Krishna. That's the message of Lord Ramachandra. Different time and place, they get a little different emphasis, but that message is still there. And all we have to do is try to take advantage of it. As I mentioned the other day, I think this quote I like from Prabhupada so much. He said, just become Krishna conscious and enjoy life with a thrill at every moment. So just imagine every minute of your life being a thrill. Right? You go to some theme park, right? It's thrilling for the first 15 minutes until you realize how long the line is. Right? When I grew up in Detroit, there was some place in Sandusky, I don't know if it's still there, there's some kind of big theme park or something like that. I took my son one time to Disneyland, and it's like, they have, many of you probably been, they have entertainment to keep you entertained while you're waiting in line for the entertainment. I used to ski. I mean, in Michigan, anybody knows, you know, Michigan is not a great place to ski, but we used to go, there was a club, kids club called Blizzard Ski Club. I think they're probably long gone. But they would show up with some skier with like 500 kids. And you can almost hear the people yelling at us, go away. Because they just know they're gonna have to wait in line even longer. So you're there, the whole ride down the mountain. East to southeast Michigan mountains, right? The whole ride down skiing is like 90 seconds. And then you wait in line for, you know, sometimes 15 minutes. This material world. It's not thrilling at every moment. But Prabhupada makes this bold claim, just become Krishna conscious and enjoy life with a thrill at every moment. So it's wonderful. We can stop there. Maybe some questions? Someone? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for your enriching association. There are two aspects which I personally felt is one is there is sufficient frustration with the material world, which is basically Dukhale Mashasha. The second part is the only escape is the Harinam Sankirtan. So thank you.
The best, the most effective.
Wonderful.
Prabhupada even says, we don't say it's the only way, but for most people in this age, it's possible. Other processes of spiritual perfection, very difficult at this age. You can go to the Himalayas and you can practice great tapasya. Some very few people may be able to do it. Most of us can't do that. So this Lord Chaitanya came and gave this process, which is very easy. You need to go to work, fine. You can still practice bhakti. You got to raise your kids, fine. You can still practice bhakti. You got to pay your taxes, fine. You can still practice bhakti.
Grateful for sharing that, Prabhuji. You have years of experience in bhakti. I wanted to ask you this question. A person who is sufficiently frustrated with this material world, who wants to go to the next step, he wants to get graduated in bhakti, in terms of going forward, and rather than taking these stages of devotional service mechanically, one wants to experience the love of Krishna at that place. How does it one go from sufficiently frustrated material, so there is no taste that person realizes, but now he wants to get to that stage, but it seems like you are in dark, there is nothing ahead, you can't see any light there.
The darkness comes sometimes. There's a Christian theologian, St. John of the Cross, who wrote a famous book called, now I remember his name in the book, Dark Night of the Soul. And he explains in there, because their path is also like bhakti. Prabhupada said Christians, from our perspective, it's a Vaishnava tradition, based on bhakti, love of God, surrender to God. So in his book, I read it one time years ago, and I haven't studied it so well, but basically he talks about, same thing as there in our tradition. Sometimes God tests you. And sometimes you have to go through those tests, and you get, and the test means you get a choice. That's basically what the test means. So we made a decision individually a long time ago, according to our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, to separate ourselves from Krishna. We told him, Krishna, please disappear. I want to go in the material world. So then, every once in a while, we may be sincere. Krishna, please, I think I want to have, please, I want to connect with you again. So then Maya's there, and Krishna's also tested behind the scenes. So he offers you something else. Krishna or this? So we get tempted by different things in this material world. And then we have to, again, sometimes we see, maybe even probably in this community, somebody's coming, they're very enthusiastic to practice devotional service, Krishna consciousness, and then you realize, like, whatever happened to him or that family? We haven't seen them in 6 months, isn't it? Or that person like that. Because something came up, they got distracted, and they decided that whatever, Disneyland will make them happy, and instead of going there and having prasadam and having a little artik before they go ride the rides, whatever, they get distracted, they lose their enthusiasm. So this darkness comes in again. So part of it, at least I would say, is Krishna's testing us. Do you really want me? And he offers, because this whole material energy is a manifestation of him, it's his lower energy. And our whole process is based on choosing Krishna. So choice means you're going to have choices. So we have to make sure we make the right choice. If we make the wrong choice, then he's still there. He stays with us until we realize that was a mistake. Anybody ever made a mistake here in life? Okay. So that's a big part of it. And sometimes we become a little lax in our practice, more than we should. And that enthusiasm can wane. That's when we really need association to be with us. We need devotees to say, hey, you seem to be losing your focus here. Be careful. We definitely need devotee association. So we have time for just a couple of minutes. Two more questions. The front row is getting all the questions. Go ahead, one more.
Please accept my humble obeisance at your lotus feet of this Shloka.
I don't have lotus feet, but I'll accept your obeisances. And you can accept mine.
So, Guruji, your kirtan was really deep, was really encouraging that if one continues in this process, that hope is there to connect to deeper levels of Krishna consciousness. My question is, like we hear of the early days how Srila Prabhupada did a miracle and the devotees did amazing services. And so, since you are part of that era, that amazing, that time, so of course Srila Prabhupada has so many wonderful qualities, but what quality do you think as aspiring followers of Srila Prabhupada that we can follow in his footsteps?
Well, we have the 26 qualities of devotees. We should try to practice those. I think sometimes the most important quality to have as a devotee is mercy to oneself. Because as we study, we get a sense of what it means to be purely dedicated to Krishna and very serious about our sadhana and awakening the different stages of bhakti. And there's a lot of rules, right? Sometimes it becomes daunting. It's like, how is it possible? How am I ever going to be able to do that? But I mentioned this morning, in the Gita, Prabhupada explains in that purport, 6th chapter, I think, success is guaranteed for the rigid practitioner. Rigid means you just don't give up. No matter what, you keep going. Even the ups and downs are there. So I think the most important thing is that we're a little kind to ourselves sometimes. Because it's very easy to, like they say in English, beat up on ourselves, right? Especially this time, it's so easy. And you compare yourself. I mean, you hear about, let's talk about from the women's perspective. There's so much pressure on women to look pretty. A lot of it comes internally. You're like 3 years old, they're telling you, oh, you're so pretty, right? If you don't keep staying pretty, then something's wrong, right? There's a lot of pressure. And then add to the pressure, the styles change, right? I know, like my wife naturally has like curly hair, and they think back, like when she was young, curly hair was totally out of fashion. So there were women that were like ironing their hair to make it straight. You know that? You imagine that? Ironing their hair. And then there's other, and then like I don't know. When I was a kid, like all the TV shows, they would always show the housewives with curlers in their hair, right? Like I Love Lucy or something, right? They're like a big. So they're trying to curl their hair. So some women they're trying to curl it, some women they're trying to straighten it, And the little boys are told, don't cry, be tough, right? Which they've done studies now puts tremendous pressure on men. Like we have feelings too, isn't it? I can remember as a young person, I don't know the age, I'm going to guess it was like 8th grade, maybe even 6th grade. And we had to do some kind of psychological examination, took some questions. And then they actually gave us the results. Probably messed up a lot of kids, but I can remember reading, I got the results back. And it said like, you lean feminine, which is like to a young boy, that's like, what? That's like the worst thing you could say to me. But I can remember reading it. It was like, you lean more compassionate. You're more empathic. I don't think they use that word in those days. It was all those kind of things. You think about it. I was saying that this is good qualities. Why are you saying these are feminine qualities? These are good qualities. We should all have these. And you're trying to tell me, you're not a good male because you're trying to, it didn't make any sense. So those pressures are there on men too. Like, be tough. But, again, we face challenges too. So a lot of it is just recognizing that part of it is the world puts pressure on us. There's a nice expression that comparison is the enemy of joy. I don't know who said that, but it's very profound. Comparison. Because there's always somebody better. There's somebody thinner, there's somebody stronger, there's somebody taller, there's somebody shorter, there's somebody smarter, there's always. So I referred to some bumper stickers this morning. There's a bumper sticker, still stayed out there. It says, God, it's not good English, but that's part of the point. God don't make junk. Right? It's very reassuring. It's like, okay, I'm part of Krishna. We're emanations from him, part of his energy. So in one sense, he's made us in one sense. So he doesn't make junk. We're part of Krishna. There's no junk. Spirit, soul, we're pure. We may be influenced by so many things, but it's all temporary. And it's Maya just trying to distract us. There is a path to awaken. That's right in front of us. It's easy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But Maya's there. Your chanting's no good. Every time you cook, you're not as good a cook as she is. Don't even try. Your kirtan's not as good as his. Don't even try. Your japa is pretty bad. Don't even try. It's just the mind. And sometimes even other people. But we shouldn't be distracted. We should be kind to ourselves. You know. Sometimes we should think, okay, even I am junk. I'm Krishna's junk. Right? I'm Prabhupada's junk. Maybe I'm junk. Maybe I can't do anything. But where I can do, I can offer to him. And he's so kind, he accepts that, right? Just imagine, the whole universe is everything comes from him. And he says in the Gita, right? He directly says, just offer me a flower, a fruit, a little water. I mean, you know, you bring me a flower, it's like, it's time to eat, right? Because you sit down upstairs for prasad, they bring you a flower and one piece of fruit and some water. Are you happy? And who are we? I'm not, that's not enough for me. But Krishna says, no, you give me a flower, fruit, or water, I'll accept it. Of course, we should try to offer with devotion. So that's who we're dealing with here. To use the vernacular, he's a pretty nice guy. And the more we're convinced of his nature, there's a beautiful verse, and we'll end with that because it's getting late. In the 10th chapter, I think it's 10:7, where Krishna explains, one who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind, engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there's no doubt. So the more and more we become aware and convinced of Krishna's position, then we become happy, we become less disturbed, and then our goal is clear. Okay? So thank you all, very patient, appreciate your hearing very attentively. Thank you all for dancing nicely. Very nice to see everybody dancing for the Lord. And Prashad, yeah, upstairs? Okay, we think the kids left us some. We hope. We'll find out now, huh? Okay, thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Anuttama Prabhuji ki